All right. Welcome back to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Ewell. Today, we got a very special guest, Dr. Jason West.
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
Who is a chiropractor slash, what would we call you, man, besides like healer, life changer? Like, what's the official name?
Well, I got two doctorates. One is a chiropractor, one is a naturopath. I've got a bunch of certifications in, longevity, oxidative medicine, nutrition. And so I tell people when they ask me, like, what kind of doctor are you? I always tell them the kind that heals people. And that always leads to, additional discussion, but chiropractor first, naturopath second.
Okay. Awesome, man. And I know you as someone who heals people, so a lot of times when I say the official thing, I think officially you're a guy who heals people, which to me, not all doctors do that. So like that almost goes above and beyond it, not to take away from any of the school work you've done and any of the other things, man, but it's pretty incredible the work that you're doing. And, just some of the things I've seen just in the short amount of time of working with you that you've been able to really help people. And these are pretty incredible, diseases that you're able to really help people with. And, I can tell you this, being around this space for the last 5-6 years, there aren't too many people, man, that are doing the things that you're doing. So it's pretty incredible.
Well, thank you. My dad always said that, Jason, anybody can be a doctor. If you just put in the seat time, you pass the test, like anybody can be a doctor. But it takes a real different breed to be a healer. And so I'm incredibly complimented that you would say that. It's actually has a ton of meaning for me. And my dad would say this. So we just had this conversation earlier. I had a visiting doctor in the office, and he was like, "Hey, how did you get to this level? Like, your office is crazy busy. You're taking care of the hardest of the hard. My place is chronic Lyme disease. It's autoimmune. We do a ton of cancer support therapy." And I said, "Look, you know what? It didn't always used to be that way. Like when I started, no one wanted to see me. They always wanted to see my dad. I came into practice with him. He passed away, 12 years ago, and I've been in practice 23 years now. And he would tell me this: listen, Jason, if you want to be a healer, you got to listen to the inside. And so I really try hard to pay attention, to intuition. I pray all the time between patients. I try to live up to the responsibility. Like, I think God put me on the earth to help people live better lives and to heal people. And so that's my mission. And I try to live as much as possible in that space. And I don't fix everybody, but I'm always kind of surprised when I can't help them at least a little bit. But we get some pretty amazing outcomes.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible, man. And, being able to see what you're doing and really, see the whole thing, right? It's like, hey, this person came in because of this, and now this is what they're walking out, with as a result of that is pretty incredible. So I do have to say that, sometimes I feel like when we keep our identity in, maybe being a doctor, it takes away from the healing power, that you truly have and that you've really studied. And, I think a lot of that comes from, the wisdom of doing the things that you've been doing for as long as you have.
Well, Jesse, so one of our biggest secrets, I apologize for cutting you off, but I wanted to tell you this. The secret is about 12, 13 years ago, I had a patient that altered my life, and it altered the way that I show up in my office as someone that the people are looking for, like a direction. Like, one of the things I tell people all the time, especially doctors, I'm like, that no one comes into your office and says, I want you to fix my pain. Like, they'll come in and they'll say, Jason, I want you to fix my shoulder hurts. But what they're really saying is, I've lost something. I can't lay on my side. I can't throw a baseball. I can't garden. I can't golf, etc. And what they're trying to communicate with you is, I'm willing to take an action step, or I'm willing to pay you if I get the outcome of a better shoulder. And so I always have to remind my team and the doctors I work with, I'm like, listen, the patient isn't coming in for the treatment. Like we think this all the time. Oh, they're coming in for a shoulder injection or a chiropractic adjustment, or they're coming in for surgery or a prescription. They're not. They're coming in for the outcome that
Yeah.
they want. And so I kind of was knowing that. And then that's one of the things like that I've really learned from you is like we were doing like content before where I was throwing stuff out. I was kind of following some of the Russell Brunson advice, which is like throw tons and tons of value out. And then people will think, if you send all this value out, imagine what he's giving away when you pay for it.
Right.
Well, I never got to the pay for it stage. So all I was doing was like, I'm throwing stuff out there for years. And then like that message of dialing in the outcome, like it just really resonated with me. I'm like, oh, well, wow, Jesse's teaching me something that like we can really get people to recognize and then ask us to be in their life instead of us like chasing after people.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. I mean, I would think that, a lot of times I think because doctors are so educated that they assume everybody else is that educated, right? And so they kind of speak doctor versus speaking, outcome or results based, right? And then we have that kind of disconnection between us. And, what's cool is to really watch you shift your focus and your marketing away from information education to very results based marketing, which has been really powerful. So talk to me a little bit about the process of like what you were doing before for marketing prior to coming into HBO.
Well, it's weird that I'm sitting here because I'm going through a little bit of a like I don't have stuff to do. Like I've been so used to like just working. And so one of the things that we did before this was I'm always putting stuff on Facebook, but it was always information. I'm doing, Facebook lives. I'm sending out testimonials. I've got a YouTube channel that I got a podcast channel. Like I'm doing all the stuff. I wrote a book. I've written a couple books as one to give away in the office and then as lead magnets. Yeah. So one of the things like I went through and I made the book here and anyway, I felt like I've done a ton of stuff. And then I was just like, man, I work in my office 8 to 10 hours. And then I'm literally going and I'm doing marketing 4 to 5 hours a day after that and going home and I'm doing great. Like we're doing really good, really well, I should say. But then one of, your other clients, Todd Wendell was like, hey man, I done some stuff with Jesse. You reached out once. And I'm like, man, I don't want another coach. Like I've done this so many times and I don't want to get another agency. And I don't like it. I do stuff. And then it felt like they will get you in. And then it's kind of like they forget about you. And I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. And then one of our discussions, you're like, hey, Jason, I just need to tell you, like, you're putting tons of information out there, but like you're not engaging with anybody. Like it's not a call to action. There's no like people have to be really motivated to see something and then either contact you or engage with you or call your office. And when you said that, I was kind of like, like I've been doing this for years, thinking that, it's just a grunt force process. You just have to like grind it out. And part of me is like, no one else is working this hard. Like, how
Yeah.
come it seems like other people are getting results and they're working less? Like, I know I have the same work ethic they do. I've got really good content, but it wasn't framed in such a way where we can see everything. And then you're like, hey, Jason, why don't you like engage and do a little ask? And I was like, okay, well, maybe this is going to work. And it didn't seem like that much of a reach. And then Todd was like, man, you got to do it. And so then what we started doing, and for the first month I've done it, we're almost to month 2, but the first month I'm like, I really want to understand this. I went through everything and I'm just typing out these little things. Okay. I'm like sending it out. And then you're like, respond and everything. And part of me was like, I don't even have time to do this. Like I've worked hard on our Facebook thing on our business page. We've got
Right.
about 8,700 followers. On my personal, I was maxed out, but I was rarely doing stuff on personal. I mean, it was all on the business. That's where we do it. I did some Facebook lives on my business, our community, and the personal. And then when you're like, okay, start engaging with people, I'm like, okay, I can try that. And then it was like overwhelming. And then it really caught me off guard because I was just following. I thought we were going to like just engage for a month. And then all of a sudden, day 7 or 8, there's this ask post. And I'm like, I'm not even ready for this, but I'm following the system. So I'm just going to do it. And I think it was something like, if you need chronic pain or you're tired or I'm helping 5 people be less tired, raise your hand or something. And then we did that. And then I got a deluge of people. I was like, I can't believe this. Like all these people are asking for more information. They're asking for help. And then I had no idea what to do because I hadn't kept going on. So I was kind of like, oh, great. I'm glad you need help. Like call the office or whatever. And then you're like, hey, you need to prep them better, follow this, direct message script thing. And then, so that was back in either mid-September, I think.
Yeah, towards the end of September.
Into September. And part of it was I'm in an all cash practice. And we usually, January's a little bit slow. Things start to ramp up in the summer, like April, May, June, July, like we crush it. And then September's usually good. October's not too bad. And then when we move into November and December, it's usually our dog months that just slow down. No one wants to pay for healthcare. They want to pay for Christmas and vacations. And I'm like, I have got to do something different. And so part of the reason doing it at that time is if I am better with my messaging, maybe I don't want to have a slow November. And the results are bonkers. I just talked to my patient care coordinator. We went 4 for 5 on Monday and Tuesday. So we had 5 people that reached out to us. We immediately got them on the phone. We went 4 for 5. So my simple math is an 80% close rate. And our packages run anywhere from $4,000 to $12,000. So just taking the cheap end, we've had a $16,000 week and it's Tuesday night. And so my goal was just to have consistent people. And this is the busiest November that we've had that I in 23 years. And I can't help but I'm consistently doing other stuff as well. But it seems like the HBL stuff is just throwing fuel to it. Like we send out a daily email, we do patient reach outs, we do birthday cards, but we were doing that last year.
Right.
And we're not having the same year that we have. So, on the investment that we've had in 6 weeks, it's got to be somewhere between 10 and 25,000 a week. Like we're easy in 6 figures in 6 weeks on it. Now,
wow,
I did have an offer before. So I had a pretty good offer. Yeah. I felt like my team converted people really well, but we didn't have people out saying, hey, help me. Like I was throwing stuff out there and I'm like, man, I think I'm getting like a 0.5% conversion rate or 1% conversion rate. And now I'm like, wow, there's people consistently asking for, hey, engage with me, at least tell me more. We're saying, would you like to get on the phone to discuss? They're opting in. We're busy enough that I had a patient care coordinator handling all that, and we're just about max capacity. I'm going to need someone else to just handle the volume that we're getting, which, by the way, it's working on LinkedIn and it's working on YouTube too. And even though 90% of it is Facebook, but I'm just doing the same algorithm of I'm just going to put up this post and I'm just going to ask people if they want information, to engage. And then if they do engage, to your point, the speed that you can engage back with them really is important. If you wait too long, we'll lose those people.
Right.
But it's been 4 new patients in 2 days, and that's just this week.
Right. That's awesome. So you'd say you've done, in 6-7 weeks, you've done over 6 figures with the HBL process. Just this week alone, you've done over, I think you said you did a $7,500 and $7,800 deal today alone. Not to mention what you did yesterday. So that's pretty incredible, man.
Yes. And so we had done a lot of work before, but this is just it was finally a framework where I'm like, okay, I get it. Like I can, we just weren't posting, and like I've got tons and tons of video testimonials.
Mm-hmm.
But it was when we like took the framework and we put them inside your transformation post that like was really like it would drove a lot of people. And
Right.
so before I was like, hey, check out this. This person like we're able to get rid of a cancer indicator, where we were able to do this. And certainly I would get some people off of it. But then when I put it in your framework, it was like, hey, you guys, this was Jason before, and this is him now. And then we showed the testimony at the end. We'd be like, hey, we really want to create a community, leave a comment, raise your hand, and we'll get you more information. And we're getting like 6-7 times the response. And we've even done it with the same testimonial. Like I'm repurposing all of the stuff that
Right.
I've been putting. I'm just like, great, I'm going to put this intro, this tickler, and then the body of the testimony, and then the outro. And I'm just going to run it again. And it's doing the same. And so that was transformational too.
So let me ask you this, man, because like I see a lot of people try to come into our program, or at least they may get on a call with us and they're like, well, I'll just copy exactly what you're doing. You were a guy who is, we kind of call, essentially what you're doing is the spray and pray method of marketing, which is you're just going to spray a bunch of content out, and then you pray someone kind of comes into your profile, comes into your stream. Although it works, like, what would you say to that person who's like, hey man, what if I just copy whatever Jason's doing or whatever, Todd's doing? Can I get the same results? Like, what would you say to that?
Well, I would say, first of all, the spray and pay, like I know that it works. It just takes so much energy and work to do it.
Right.
And literally, like, I mean, I would work in the office. I bought a, commercial warehouse. I turned it into a video studio, a podcast studio. And what was motivating that is the statements that bother me the most in the office is patients would say, I wish I would have found you or a doctor like you before I did the surgery, or 10 years ago or whatever. And they just don't know.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, that was the why of really pushing a platform. I'm like, I hate that. So I want to try and at least tell people, here's your options. There's more than one way to skin a cat. It's not just drugs and surgery. There's other things. Or if the drugs aren't working, or if you're looking for something, like, I just was like, I want to be that guy. So I was doing the spray and pray with just pure, grit and determination. But it was like wearing me out. I'm like, man, I just cannot keep this up. But then I was like, I don't know where to slack off either. Because if I slack off, I'm like, well, what's going to happen to the patient volume? Like I'm driving in, a good 40, 50 new patients a month on an average month. And then if I really dial in, and sometimes I do something and I get like 60 or 70, and I'd be like, but I don't know why. Like, what did I say that was bringing them in? And
Right.
so now what's happened is I'm like, I have a specific framework. I've delegated it to my, virtual assistant. Now she worked with me for 3 years and then went virtual, but she handles all of it. And so like, it's 6:10 mountain time, and I'm going home. And like, I haven't done that for years. Like and we have a totally full schedule, literally till Christmas, of people that are contacting the office, or they're making a response. Macy's putting them in with some type of, response or lead magnet, or they're getting over to our patient care coordinator, and then she's scheduling them. And we have two offers. We have a virtual offer where they don't have to come to the office, or we have an in-office offer that she's converting, and I'm having to work substantially less. I think I'm working 50% of what I was working in August and September.
Wow. But you got a fuller schedule, and, it sounds like you're making more money, if not, the same at least, but working a little bit less.
Well, for sure, we're making more money. And I was talking to Jody. We had a little planning meeting. I've got a whiteboard up here where we're listing out people that we're following up with, and I'm like, so where do you think all the new blood's coming from? And by the way, it's not just new. because what's happening is it's all the people that were in our ecosystem. So we've been running a clinic where we take really difficult cases and we turn them around, and then it's almost like kind of like an emergency room, and then we get them better, and then they're out of sight, out of mind, and we have enough more people coming in that I'm like, okay, Jesse's totally fixed. Like, he had the stomach problem, but he's fixed now. And well, a lot of where our traffic is coming from is Jesse saying later on, hey, you didn't take care of me, for 4 or 5 years. I'm kind of back to where I was. And
Right.
I remembered how good I was doing. Like, I just had a lady from Minnesota who I haven't seen since 2013 reach out to us because of all of the Facebook stuff that's happening. And she's like, oh my gosh, I felt so good. I haven't been in for 10 years. I'm totally, I'm going to start another program. And so I think that the re-engagement and the re-awareness, that where people had just kind of out of sight, out of mind, because we're going through and we're spiking the algorithm and we're doing all of the comment, and like we just have so much greater reach. And by the way, like, I've done a lot of paid advertising on Facebook, like a lot, like through my business page.
Right.
I've spent, over 50 grand over the years, reaching out to people, and I'm getting more contact and engagement doing habits-based lifestyle than I was doing, the paid advertising. And it's really cool, but kind of painful.
Hey man, I mean, you wouldn't appreciate it if you wouldn't have went through it, right?
Right.
It's kind of like, finding a good woman, you wouldn't appreciate her as much as you do if you didn't have some of the bad experiences prior.
True.
So, well, hey man, let me ask you this. Like, what has been an unexpected result just in the first 7 weeks of our program?
Well, the unexpected result is definitely working less. And I still work on it. Like, one of the things that we're doing now is, and we're just testing this, is, we're putting the posts out. We've been through the recommended guidelines, and now we're kind of into where we're just making it unique to us. So one of the things that I
Right.
would say, anybody that's like, oh, I'm just going to copy what Todd's doing or Jason's doing, like, it doesn't work. Like, I think you get the first month under, and then you're like, oh, I want to make this unique to my practice, to my personality, and so Macy's done that. Like, we've actually scheduled out 3 months of questions, engagements, and content. And then we're doing the transformation post. Was they come in, I ask people if they've had a good outcome, just give me a post. I put an intro, and then we just run those kind of random, or whenever they come in. But that was the biggest thing. And then recognizing, oh my gosh, like, I can delegate this, and it's really effective marketing for us. It's not just Jason pushing it. Like, there's actually a system.
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, I can just put someone in the system. And I was like, look, and I told you this in our coaching call. I'm like, hey, you know what? I think we can get to, 6 figures a month, ROI on this. And then you're like, yeah, and if you really knew what you're doing, you're following my program, you would be twice that. And I was like, okay, man, challenge accepted. So, like, that's my next thing of, okay, it's not, for me, it's about, like, can we change lives? Can we take a cancer patient and help them? Can we get rid of an autoimmune disorder? Can we help someone avoid a surgery? And if we do that, the money follows. But the money is kind of also how you keep score with the universe.
Right.
And being able to, like, do, like, wow, I can do some more stuff with my family. I can support causes that are more important to me. Because I have this coming in, I can choose to do pro bono work in the office. I can decide, look, you know what, I know this person really needs this program in this, and it's expensive, but if God's given me something, I'm giving it back. And so that all of that may be maybe the biggest win is being able to help more people. And I can choose if someone really needs it, if I can help them, where before I'm like, man, I want to do that, but got to make payroll, and I got quarterly, taxes coming up, and I've got, I've got the work comp insurance that I got to take care of. And that
Right.
seems to be less.
Yeah, that's amazing, man, that you've been able to get the results you're getting, and knowing that you're probably doing about 15 to 20% of the program, is even more incredible because, the ceiling is that much higher. But I will say, the implementation of what you've been doing, like the big thing I see is you're just taking action, right? And, when you take different action, you tend to get different results. One
Oh, and
thing that
we
go
have
ahead.
totally screwed up too. Like we've done stuff like I and so that maybe that is a trait that is really good for me. Like I will take action, but
Yeah.
then we're kind of been like failing forward too. Because some of our initial stuff, I'm like, yeah, I slaughtered that. I slaughtered
Well, I
that
think the
post. I
biggest
slaughtered
thing
that.
is you can take the wrong action and it's still better than not taking any action.
Yeah, and I think that's true.
So, well, hey man, let me say this, like obviously you're a very well-known guy in the health, space that you're in. Like, why do you think it's important for somebody like yourself, somebody like Todd that has, this organic marketing system on their profile, heading into 2024? Like, what is the future for you look like? Like, why do you think this is such an essential thing for a business like yours?
Well, I don't want to be a fear monger and say, look, we're having, interest rates are up, a recession's coming, a depression's coming, we're in two wars, Ukraine and the Middle East. And I try to be informed, to be like, so my head's not in the sand, but I don't want to buy into it either. And the one thing that I recognize is the only one that can control my destiny is me. So look, I can be like, oh my gosh, the economy's crashing or whatever else, or I can be like, look, I just got to be a more effective communicator, and I got to get to the target base that wants to work with me. Like I got to weed through, the people that we don't line up with, which was one of the spray and pray problems. Is when I was doing, paid ads and I was doing lead magnets and I was going to landing page, like I was doing all this stuff. I was getting tons of traffic, but it felt like a lot of them were tire kickers and stuff that were like,
Right.
I'm just looking for the free widget, the free deal. What's the deal? As soon
Yeah.
as the deal, I'm moving on to the next person. And I'm like, look, I don't want to engage with people that are just doctor shopping or that are just deal seekers. I want to engage with people that are like, hey, I want to take responsibility of my health. If it sounds good, I'm willing to invest in it. If it doesn't sound good, like they should move on to, I'm totally fine with that because I just want to work with the people that want to work with me. So as we're moving into 2024, I can remember I went through 2008, and because I was marketing, I mean, it was spray and pray, but I was doing it harder than anybody else. I sailed through that. And so the concerns of, look, anybody that's in healthcare space, like people are always going to get sick. Like this is one of the most recession proof professions and stuff, but you have to have a unique message that sets you apart. You have to have that unique, as Dan Kennedy said, you have to have that unique sales position. And this being very specific on, I want to help these people. Here's our transformation posts. Here's what, really what I'm trying to get is medical failures. I want people that have been everywhere, that have tried everything, that are, they've been to the medical establishment, maybe they've been to the Mayo Clinic, they've been to other chiropractors and acupuncture, and they didn't get it. Like that's my ideal client, because those are the people that, like, just how we've been doing things, those are the outcomes that we get. And
Right.
this marketing is allowing me to get to that segment more efficiently than any other marketing thing that I've tried.
That's amazing. Well, I mean, let's face it, let's just say this: in the last 3, 4 years, people do not trust the traditional, medical system that maybe they once did. And so, heading into 2024, people are looking for alternative, um, ways to get help. And, they're going to go to the people who are the experts, willing to put themselves out there. And, a lot of people, if you're not willing to do that heading into the next 2 years, you're going to get left behind.
I think you're going to get left behind, or you'll be out of business, or you'll just eke by.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be in that world. I want to be like, I want to be engaged in a really important cause, and I want to thrive when we go into that. I don't want to, I don't want to hold on. I want to be like, hey, this 2024 is going to be the best year we've ever had in practice.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, we're finishing it out, stronger than ever, right?
Right.
Well, so let's say this, man. Somebody's, on the fence about coming in here, kind of like you were. I think it only took you like a year and a half to eventually get in. But like, what would you say to that person now being in the position you're in?
Well, and it's exactly right. I'm embarrassed that it took 18 months, but part of it too was a little bit of coach burnout, a consultant burnout, when I'm like, look, man, I put a lot of money. I mean, I've told people it cost me $140,000 to become a doctor, and it's cost me $1 million to run the practice.
Right.
Where I've been investing in coaches, and I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know how to market. I didn't know that, the estrogen on your front, if it doesn't get along with the estrogen in the back, it can create conflict and problems with your patients that you don't even know about. And so learning how to try, create the plan and stuff. And so part of it was like, man, I need another, and I was doing well enough where I was like, I don't need anybody. I'm just hammering away. But the other part of it is I was like, okay, look, I'm 51 years old, and I just don't know how long I can drive this hard, where I'm like, 15, 16 hours a day. And yes, like we're doing better than most doctor offices that I know, but the price tag is like, it's really, really steep. And
Right.
then when it was like, look, and you'd send these little posts out about, like, it's systems, it's about habits, habits make and break you. And I'm like, look, finally, I'm just going to do it. And so for my investment, like, it wasn't immediately in September, but like for sure, at least twice in October and once in November. Okay, twice in November, twice in October. I've already paid for the program 4 times in the last 6 weeks, and then I was just like, man, I should have done it a year and a half ago.
Well, you've actually paid for the program over 10 times.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I
And
didn't
it,
think I would at first. I was just like, okay, I hope I can get everything back by the end of the year. Maybe I'll learn something and I'll apply it. I'll get I'll get it back in a year. Like, I didn't have, just because I've had other people, well-meaning. I mean, I've had great coaches, and I've had coaches that aren't great. And
yeah, for sure.
I was just kind of like, look, and all of them moved the ball. Like, none of them, like, I feel like they're, but some of them, were more expensive than others. And this one is like, Jesse, this has been a home run for sure. And so if anybody's watching it, I'm like, look, like, the ideal behind, here's the system. And I was really committed. Like, when I decided I'm going to do this in September, I'm like, I'm doing this, and I'm going to figure out how to do it myself for the first little bit. And then I'm going to see if I can get a team member to do it. And now I'm like, okay, I probably need 2 team members to run it. But like, it's just putting people in the system that are taking action steps, that, one, they're changing lives, but it's also putting revenue in the clinic. Like, it's a dual home run.
That's awesome. Well, hey man, I'm super excited for you, your future, and the team, and not only that, but just the people you're helping. And can't thank you enough for just being a part of the HBL family and the crew, and really looking forward to seeing what you guys create in the next couple months.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Jesse.
Well, hey, thanks so much, not only for just showing up today, but for the work you do, man, because I think it's so important, and just being able to see it front and center has been pretty incredible. So thank you so much. If you guys want to get in touch with Dr. Jason, obviously maybe someone you might know may have a major health issue and they're not figuring out or getting the answers they need. I'm going to put a link in the show notes directly to Dr. Jason. And then not only that, he does actually some pretty incredible things. But if there's anything that maybe a family member or someone else might be struggling with when it comes to their health, they're not getting those answers, just go directly to the show notes. There'll be a special link for you directly to his website where you guys could possibly schedule and get in contact with him. And then also, if you guys, for whatever reason, can't do that, just reach out to me. I'll make sure I reach out to him and get you in contact with him. But I want to thank you guys so much for listening today. We appreciate you. If you have any questions on anything, email me, jesse@habitbasedlifestyle.com. You can also go in the show notes, join our private Facebook group, where we'll go more in depth on some of the things that we talked about with me and Jason today. And until next episode, have a great day.
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.